Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be notified anytime we post new or updated training, or when we're online with instructors conducting a Q&A session or live training. It's a surefire way to become an expert on Bright MLS.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome. I am so excited to see all of you lovely appraisers. We have 55 of you now watching already. We are going to start promptly at 10 o'clock. You've got 5 minutes. Please visit the description box below the video. That is where you'll find the instructions for creating a channel so that you too can participate in the chat live. You'll be joined by the other two trainers, Tiffany Murphy and Valerie Steffen, and they will be fielding some questions, answering them live, as well as handing them off to us for our ending Q&A session. If you do not want to create a YouTube channel, that is okay too. Simply use the survey link in the description below the video. We'll be monitoring that throughout this live event as well. We'll see you shortly in about 4 minutes.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be notified anytime we post new or updated training, or when we're online with instructors conducting a Q&A session or live training. It's a surefire way to become an expert on Bright MLS. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be notified anytime we post new or updated training, or when we're online with instructors conducting a Q&A session or live training. It's a surefire way to become an expert on Bright MLS.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is just about 10 o'clock. I wanted to take a moment to do a final housekeeping. Make sure that if you are going to participate in the chat, that you have found the directions. You'll see them below the video. If you do not want to create a channel, then feel free to submit the questions through the survey. I am so glad to see so many of you. We are almost at 100 fantastic appraisers, and even then we still have yet one more joining us today, Coleen Morrison. You will be introduced to her very shortly. So let's get started. Today, and here is just the steps for you one more time, how to create the YouTube channel. I actually do see you guys are chatting up a storm, so that's fantastic. I'm so glad. Timeline, we're going to just go over a really quick, brief timeline with Bright working with appraisers. And this started last year with conversion, of course. You guys had a lot of great feedback. And from that feedback, we started some focus groups, these work groups, where we got together with appraisers. We finished 3 different focus groups last year to start making the improvements that you have seen in the last 6 months coming through. Out of that 3rd focus group is when I met Beth and Coleen, who is our panelist today. And working very closely with them, we created our first appraiser focus class, which is a webinar in December that will be posted at the end of the class in the description, as well as any links that we will discuss today. So make sure that when this is over, within about an hour or 2 after that, you come back and you'll have access to all of the links and the resources to the topics that we're going to be discussing today. And we are currently in the throes of our 4th focus group, in which Coleen is also a part of. And that is how we came up with today's YouTube live event. So we're really glad to be joining you today. This is a list of our qualifications. We've got some text up here. I'm not going to make you guys read text today. What I am going to do is switch over and introduce myself and Coleen. So you should now see us on the screen. Hi, Coleen. So I'm going to really quickly just tell you, I don't want to talk about myself. This is not about me. Laurie Egbert, Bright Training Specialist. Also, make sure you guys are nice to the other 2 training specialists who are joining you live in the chat to help answer your questions and guide your experience today. Been working and supporting the industry for over 19 years. That's enough about me. We're just going to go ahead and introduce Coleen Morrison. Hello, Coleen.
Hi, Lori. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and I'm so excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name again is Coleen Morrison, and I'm here representing on behalf of the Maryland Association of Appraisers. Beth Riedel, president of that organization, has been instrumental in keeping us in touch with Bright and bringing all of our resources together so we can think together and make things good for all of us. I've been an appraiser for over 32 years. I'm based in Anne Arundel County, just outside of Annapolis in Maryland. I have been doing this in this area for more than 32 years. I'm an instructor of residential appraisal work, and I truly do enjoy what I have accomplished over the years. But I have to tell you, I started out in the mailroom, you might say. I was someone who needed a part-time job, and I decided to type appraisals for an appraisal company nearby. That was long before we had appraisal software. That's how old I am. But that started me. I asked questions, and the next thing you know,
We're really glad to have you. What else are you doing in the community to support other appraisers?
Well, I do work, like I said, closely with the Maryland Association of Appraisers. I have been involved in numerous different appraisal organizations. I think belonging to an organization is critical to keeping us up to date. There is so much change that is occurring in our profession and has been occurring over the years that we can't sit by and let it happen without being aware. I've attended various Senate hearings in order to pass legislation that helps in our favor. And this is something you just have to do all the time. You have to keep abreast of it. Belonging to an organization is critical to that. Taking classes outside of your office is critical to keeping up to date and talking to other people. I've just been proactive for appraisers for most of my life, it seems. Every little step we get is a huge accomplishment for us.
So, Coleen, we're going to pause for a second because it sounds like nobody can hear you. So give us just a second. That's not good. I know, because you're saying so many wonderful things here. So give us a minute to try to figure out what's happening there. So if you guys have any questions, definitely keep posting them in the chat. And I promise you guys, we did test this in advance twice last week as well. So we are working obviously with some non-Bright technology. Technology is great when it works. Coleen, try that again.
What would you like me to try?
So tell us a little bit about the lovely dog that you have. That lovely little...
Several. I have two dogs. Both are rescues. I have a big husky-style lab mix and a little Jack Russell. And I guess you can probably figure out which one runs the household.
Ah, the Russell.
Little Jack Russell.
Great.
Runs us all.
So, is the sound working there, guys?
Not working yet?
Nope. All right. So, folks, we do apologize. I hate that that's happened. I can try a couple things like some volume and a third-party speaker, but it sounds like something happened to our audio feed, and it's just really low, and that could just be the translation. So let me try something creative, because we can do that. We run the show today. And I'm going to try one more thing, folks. So, Coleen, let's do one more take. Tell us a real quick run through your qualifications, see if they can hear you now.
Okay. My name is Coleen Morrison. I'm based just outside of Annapolis in Maryland. I am here representing the Maryland Association of Appraisers, and who has been instrumental in working with Bright and making changes for the appraiser to meet something closer to what we were used to in Matrix or better. And Bright's been instrumental in doing that for us.
Wonderful. Thank you. At this point, you talked a little bit about change and how you've seen a lot of change in the industry. And there's an obvious right here, right, Bright. We are recent change. Tell us a little bit about how that's been for you and where we've been going.
Well, appraisers are predominantly stuck in our ways, you might say. We like the comfort zone of doing the same thing all the time, and change is always a tough hurdle for us. So when we transitioned from Matrix to Bright, it was a shock for all of us, something we were used to for so many, many years. And it's been about 4 months now, and I have to say that Bright has stepped up and answered questions, helped us with some of the things we were missing. And it's been quite nice. that you've worked with us, not against us. So
Wonderful.
I'm happy. I'm very happy with changes I've seen and your continued efforts in that area.
Well, and again, we do appreciate that the community as a whole has continued to be so vocal, because without your voice and without that feedback and folks like you on these focus groups, and just to kind of mention the focus groups, I know that focus groups tend to be smaller sets of appraisers. They're usually different appraisers running through. I know that there's probably a lot of people who are hearing about focus groups, and maybe for the first time. Feel free again at the end, I'll show you how to submit your feedback if you want to be on that. Do note that there's never a guarantee though, right? There are 90,000 subscribers total. I don't know the percentage of appraisers that holds, but that's a lot of people. So do know that it's nothing personal if you don't get picked, but we're always looking for new appraisers to join us. So what do you say we show them a little bit about the system for appraisers, things that they're going to find useful?
Okay.
Let's do it. So we're going to go ahead, folks, and transition off the face-to-face. And we're going to go ahead and just outline some of the topics that we're going to walk through that help. We're working with appraisers, found that appraisers would find useful. We're going to show you how to search for your garage parking spaces, your shell, cabin, lodge, efficiency, and studio. We're going to quell any worry about searching senior community or using age requirements. And we're going to show you how in the public record to search by a record date. That does exist, and that is something that we've apparently been hearing from appraisers, where they don't just want to search public records on a whole. They may need to search for a specific record date. And there is this really great button at the bottom where we always kind of jump over. It's the 5,000 or more matches button, and we're going to show you what that does to help you identify total number of results. We're going to show you how to get timely data, how to see when the county records are being updated, where to actually identify the update date in a tax record. It's on the report, so we're going to show you where that is. And part of a recent update for January 31st, we did some system updates, include the bringing back of the gallery view, as you had mentioned, Coleen.
Yay!
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 And creating a wrapped printout that has a strategically placed thumbnail in it. And this will explain to you why we found that would be useful. So we're going to go ahead now and transition. I'm going to bring us over to Bright. So I'm going to move my browser over here. So you guys should, give me a second. For those of you who are Mac lovers, it is a growing effort for PC people. So here we are. We have our January 31st release. We have announced here, as you can see, that there are some gallery reports that were made available. The article number for this is 9372, should you want to go look that up. You will also be able to find this link in the bottom after we are done. We're going to go ahead and click on the Bright logo. It takes us back to the dashboard. You will also see that we have some additional system updates for you to review. I do strongly encourage, at some point later, checking that out. We're going to click on search and hop over into the residential sales screen. Now, first on our list of topics is how do we search for garage or shell or cabin, efficiency, or studio? And what we're going to do is I have Frederick, Maryland, because I am also in Maryland, but I'm in a totally different place than Coleen. That's the beauty of this YouTube platform. We can do this from anywhere. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to see that there is this add remove button. When I go into the add remove, and again, we will have lots of different training videos available for you guys post live that will help you learn how to do these things if you do not yet know. I simply searched for the interior or exterior features, selected, and then added that to the right selected list. This is how I end up with any number of different search fields that are not part of the actual search screen. For example, with interior features, some of you might be looking for studio. So if I click S a number of times, it will eventually take me through all of the S's. And you'll see that I have studio. Exterior features, that's where you're gonna, interior features. Interior features is also where you're gonna find efficiency. Efficiency is also under room type, so it's gonna really just depend on the listing agent and how they've entered it. There are a couple other different types of search tips that gleaning off to the side of my peripheral vision, I see one question already being fed through for us. Subdivision searching is really important for you guys. So what I'm going to do is remove the interior feature selection so I can get a bunch of listings back. When using the subdivision or neighborhood, you can use this pop-up opener and it's going to open a new window. Now previously in other systems, not Bright, these were not a required or pick listed field. So agents can enter whatever they wanted, and we are, of course, still working on cleaning all of that backtracking data. So in this case, I have spring, let me type here, my back button, spring ridge. And I want to point out up here, without typing the G and the E, the first item here is misspelled. So the agent didn't actually spell ridge correctly. How, as an appraiser or anyone searching in this system, can you make this really work, right? And that's when we use the asterisks. You can come in here and using Control or Command, select a number of these different options if you wanted. So I can click all of these if I know that they apply, okay? And then I can click OK. What that's going to do is it's going to add those subdivisions. But there is another trick that helps you catch everything that contains the word spring and then maybe just RI with an asterisk. So by putting an asterisk in the front and behind, you do still have to select that as a valid entry. It will now capture everything no matter what it actually is typed in as. So that's a really helpful tip for that subdivision searching. Again, you can use this asterisk. You can come over here, type it right on the front if you wanted to. Or you can use the asterisks. There's even adjacent to Spring Ridge apparently. So agents can be pretty creative, yes?
If you use legal subdivision, can you link that directly with the tax record? That way the misspelling isn't an issue?
Absolutely. So you can do a public record search, find out what the legal subdivision that's being represented is shown as, because sometimes legal subdivision and advertised subdivision are different, right?
Yes.
And then you'll be able to search. Yep. And that is
so you're linking it with the tax record then? So it's automatically linked, the legal subdivision name? Do you know?
Yes. So when you look and that's actually how listings are created. The listings are first populated from the linking that's created between the tax record and the listing itself. And you guys don't enter listings, so you may not be aware of that. This is a really great point to point out. So let's just visit that for a few more seconds. Anytime a listing agent has to add a listing, the second step that they are presented with is tax. They have to find a tax record in the system and link it. And we know that it's very rare cases where it might not be there yet. The system, even in those cases, is running all the time, making sure every listing is linked to a public record. So it will always happen.
Good to know.
Yeah, good question. And so here you'll see we have a total of 18 matches. Now, some of the other questions, I remember, Coleen, you had mentioned, appraisers are worried that they're not getting listings when they're using the age-restricted type of qualifiers, yes?
Yes, indeed.
So one of the other things that, because you're appraisers, you would not know on the listing side is what is a required field, right? And you'll know if it's required, those are fields you can definitely rely on. So in this case, senior fields like, let me scroll down here. The senior community, which is a yes or a no, is a required field. So when an agent is entering a listing, they have to say if it is or is not. So if you're utilizing that field, you can guarantee that anything you say is yes in the senior community will be in the senior community, unless the agent did not put that in correctly. And then that does sometimes happen and can sometimes happen. Let's transition down to the bottom, and I want to point out this 873 matches button. This is something that most of us might recognize, right? But we may not realize that that's interactive. So what I'm going to do is remove some stuff so that I can, let me clear, get more than 5,000. So when I go up here and I type in, we'll do Anne Arundel, and I say I want active, under contract, excuse me, coming soon, I might want some pendings, excuse me, I know, my goodness, what is going on there? I'm allergic to these statuses apparently. So we've got a number of statuses, and I just did this so I can get the number above 5,000. There are times in which you're trying to farm the system, and you know that for exporting, you're maxed at what number?
5,000.
5,000, Coleen, that's right. So if you need to kind of have an idea of how over you are, folks, go ahead. Let me scroll this down so you can see this button a little bit more. It's not down at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that live count, it will tell you, here's the criteria you entered, and look at this. You are only 2,225 records over that 5,000. So it's really helpful because it's going to get you the information you need to choose the right edits that you'll make for running those exports.
That's good to know sometimes, especially when you're running big records, big areas.
It is. I agree, and especially those metropolitan regions too. One building can max you out at hundreds, right? So we're going to jump to reporting, and then we're going to go over into some tax stuff. But with the reporting, just a reminder to point out, now let me undo all of these other statuses here so we can go back down, and I'll put in a price of 300 to 400,000. Down to 400, that's fine. So we're going to go up here, we're going to go to the results. And in the display, I want to point out there is a gallery display here, so that if you wanted to view the gallery here on the screen to navigate these listings, you can do that. And so this is that report that's part of the January release that we brought you back, that gallery report view. But also, let me check all the listings on this page so we can click the print button. This is also now available again as a print report. So you can come in here and do either the client gallery even if you wanted to. All right, and the agent gallery is up here. The next thing with reporting that we're going to point out for you guys is a more advanced function. Again, this will also be in the chat after fact. There are cases where sometimes you'll need to print what you create on screen, your own set of columns and displays, so to speak. So let me go back to results, and I'm going to switch my display to my appraiser one line. Now this may not be the perfect display for everyone watching today, but this display has really the fields that an appraiser might more identify with versus the ones that agents are using. So let me go back here, select my appraiser one line, and as I scroll through here, you'll see that I have tax annual amounts, assessment fields, I have total finished areas, I've got some off-market, some date fields. There's a lot of different things that you can add to this. Again, we're going to have all of the how-to in the description after this is over. And in order to edit these, simply click into the header. You can do all kinds of stuff, remove columns, insert, align, all that good stuff. So once you're done that, if you tried to print this, I dare you, right, Colleen? Have you tried?
Yes, that's right. I know.
It's not pretty, folks, and
No.
we know it. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to print it. I'm going to show you what it looks like in a PDF. So it's just like printing a website. Whew, that is ugly, right? So let me zoom in here. It also cuts off, so you can see that I don't get all of the things I want to see that I'm looking at on the screen, okay?
If you print, if you just do the print in the HTML, it gives you all of it.
Exactly.
It doesn't run off the page if you do a legal size paper.
Exactly.
The PDF does cut it off.
Exactly. Agreed. And even the HTML, like, so here's the preview. If you have so many columns added that legal isn't going to help you,
That's true. That's true.
here's that trick we wanted to show them, Colleen, for that custom print report. We ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to show you what it looks like first, and then I'm going to go show you how to do it. So the same fields in print to PDF, when I wrap the printouts, looks like this. It looks very different. So when I zoom in on it, you'll see that each row, each breakout is a listing. And it only gives me the information I'm looking for. The field name is not bolded, but the data is, so that your eye is drawn to the data that you have in the order you have it, okay? So here's how we do that. And what I'm also going to do is add one more thing. I'm going to add a photo to that. So up here up front, I've got property information. I've got the address, tax, lot, and then I get to this the fields where there's dollar figures. And maybe I want to separate my eye from seeing property stuff and then tax stuff or financial stuff or whatever it is that I'm trying to capture. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to insert a photo. Now, by inserting the photo thumbnail, it's going to create a breakpoint for my eye. Ah, right. So that,
Yeah.
I know, it's good. So that when I go to print, so, oh, wait, that was the wrong view, though. So hold on. We have to select the right view. We want the wrapped printout. We'll go back to wrapped and add that photo again. Tax lot, we're going to insert a column, and this is going to be the thumbnail, and we'll apply. And bear with me, folks, my computer is working. It is trying. So now I'm going to go over here to print. I do have that wrapped selected. I'm going to go print PDF. And when this loads, you're still going to see, whoop, I did not do that right. Appraiser, I might need to close a bunch of my other tabs. Might have too many things open here, Coleen. We know it worked, we just did it.
Right, that's right.
So what are we doing? Yep, I'm going to have to refresh completely. So I'm going to log out and back in, folks. Chrome tends to be a little persnickety for me on my computer. It really likes to hold on to the last things that I'm doing. Which is, this is really good, though, that you're seeing this, because if you find that, data's not changing over when you know it should, then this is why. You want to clear your cache and your cookies. So I'm going to go ahead and just clear everything, and I am going to log back in.
Well, you're doing that. I just want to mention you were talking about looking for studios or shells or efficiencies. One thing that an appraiser can do if they're looking for the in-law suite or the au pair or the accessory unit, the best description so far is under room type, and it says in-law. So you can select in-law under room type in order to hopefully find properties that have either an in-law suite or, as we call it, an accessory unit. And that's useful when you have those situations where you do have that accessory unit or that in-law suite.
That's good. That is important.
Shell was under property condition, but the in-law suite is under room type. So it differs as to where they're located. Just keep that in mind.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we're going to rerun a search here. I'm going to go over to the results. And we're going to switch back to our wrapped. We'll select a few of these properties. And print to PDF. Oh, it's not wanting to. All right, here's what we're going to do. I am going to go check the settings and make sure when I added the photo I didn't break it. So we're going to go into, here's where we do it, guys. We're going to go into our name drop-down, account and settings. It's going to open up your account and settings, and you want to go over here to the MLS settings. This is where your custom displays are. I have this appraiser one-line wrapped. When I edit the one-line wrapped, I'm looking, that's what happened. I'm looking to make sure that it is on wrapped. So something to know about custom displays is they're always going to be defaulted to single line. When I added the photo, I actually resaved the change, which reset my single line back to its default. Now you'll see here, I change it to wrapped, I save it, and then I go back to my search. And so we'll rerun that from the search bar. And I'm going to close these extra tabs so that when I go back into print, now we see the print PDF. And I'm actually going to report that because, folks, just because you save a change to a column, it should not default you back to that single line mode. So no, I'm going to have them looking at that. But look here. So now I have the photo very strategically placed so that if you're adding 50 different columns to that screen because you want to create a printout of your own, well, then, you know, that's a lot of data, and your eye is not necessarily going to capture quickly what it is you're looking for. So use the thumbnail picture to strategically separate where your eye might need to jump to more frequently. Does that look good? Is that it?
Yep, that looks good.
I think that's it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and close that report, and we're going to go back to results. This is where we jump over to the public record piece that we wanted to show you. In the search dropdown is where you'll find the public record search. Once we open the public records, we can search for an address, for example. So we can go up here and type in, I'm just going to type in a street name. And I'm going to look at results. When I go into a public record, you're going to notice that there is a tax record updated date. Now, this date is also available on the Appraiser Parcel 1 page report, as well as any of the 360 property reports that you might be using. This is going to be really helpful because while this property record was updated on November 7th, 2018, if I go through to a couple later, so let me click next, this tax record was updated on January 21st this year. So it's really important to know when that tax record was updated. And you do get that glimpse right here on the actual tax record, as well as the Appraiser Parcel 1 page and the 360. The other thing that you can do is actually search by the record date. So if I want to go back over here and start a new search, you'll see here that the recording date is under the sale information section. Coleen, remind me if I'm not mistaken, but didn't we do something back to January 1st, 1999 to like June 1st, 2000
Yeah.
when we played
Yeah.
with this? Yeah. So when you run something like this, and I might, yeah, I was gonna say I don't have everything in here. County, we'll do Anne Arundel. current owner, yes. And I'm not going to type it because oh, I put the date as 19/9. Not 19. You have to put it in correctly too, guys. So there we are. But you can then run the search. And I don't remember, Coleen, what area you had me running, but here we are. Now we have a list of records that were received during that time frame.
This is helpful when an appraiser has to do a retrospective appraisal, an appraisal from the past, based on an effective date from the past. So if I'm doing an estate and the person died 3 years ago, my appraisal has to be predicated on value 3 years ago. So doing a public record search by recordation date allows us to search for a certain time frame from 3 years ago. So it is beneficial.
That is really fantastic. So just to confirm, in case we have some people who are asking on why an appraiser would need to run based on recordation date, it's because I love this estate scenario where if you're doing something on an estate, that you will have to do the appraisal based on that time frame and not necessarily today's time frame.
Exactly.
That's really good information to know. And of course, I use quite a date far back, but that's just to point out that we have all of the data that you need, right?
That's right.
That's terrific.
One of the other things that when you do your one-liner, if you go to the refine button, they can directly send all of those records into the tax records. They can automatically see a one-line display of their tax records. I don't know if they're aware of that little button.
Let's show them, Coleen. Let's do that now. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to give me an area in your someplace in your area that you're familiar with? We'll get some good.
21114 zip code. 21114.
Whoops, that's in the wrong box. That's county. Let me click here. 21114.
Yeah.
All right. And then just run results.
Yep. Just select a handful of them and then switch it to refine.
So here's what we're doing right now. We are running a search, okay, and the search that we ran was zip code based. But one of the things that Colleen's asking us to show you, so that you know, is there is an easy way to automatically switch from this listing view when selecting listings, viewing the actual attached matching public record. So that's what we're doing now. We're going to go over here to the refine button bar. Now the button bar defaults to actions all the time, right? But when you go to refine, there is a search selected for drop down box. I have 25 selected. If I say go to the public records for these listings, it is automatically going to take all of those MLS numbers, rerun them for me on my behalf in the public record database. And look at this, we're in the public record search. These are now only those 25 tax records.
That's handy. That's handy sometimes.
That's fantastic. Now that was all of the prepared material that we had, and Coleen, thank you for those 2 extras that were perfect. These were perfect. I'm going to go and switch us to the questions, because I had a few that were popping up. I'm going to go back here and see if we can get a few of those answered. So we've got a question from Direct Service Appraisals asking if there is a setting in Bright that limits the amount of listings you can print. He receives an error message last week saying you can only print 12, and that was through the Agent 360. That is a good question. I am not familiar with any printing.
There is a limit. It does stop you, depending on how you're printing it. If you're printing all the pages in the 360, it will limit you. Okay?
Yep.
I don't know what the number is for the limit, but it does limit you.
So, for example, if I were to select all 25 here and go to print, it's specifically with the number of pages that you're being prompted to print when you're doing an Agent 360, for example.
That's right, because it's a full report of a lot of pages. So if you're printing everything, tax record, everything, then yeah, you're gonna be stopped. But I don't know what the limit that Bright has placed on that. the limit in the number of pages. It's not a limit of listings. It's the number of pages that you're going to print.
Yeah, and when you hover over it, I just noticed it does say there are too many records to print using the selected format. Yep.
That's
so
correct.
There's a maximum of 2. What we'll do, because I actually do not know, I don't think any of us here online today with you guys knew the answer to that. So make sure that you keep checking back. When we get the answer, we'll do an article, maybe even a video for you guys, and we'll post it in the description box so that you guys get that follow-up. How's that sound?
They can typically do it if they don't select all of those choices to be printed, but a lot of appraisers want to have everything
Of course.
on that property, so they end up asking to print all of those pages underneath and everything, and that's where the limit comes in.
Yeah, I unchecked the unchecked all but 3, and we then had that opened up for us.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, I'm not sure what the number of pages is, though.
Yeah. Oh, so we actually have Whitstad asked if we could show that parcel switch again. So thanks for bringing that up, Coleen. Let's do that one more time. So I'm going to go over here and run one of the residential searches we'd had up previously. You'll see that I already have 4. Let me change back to a 1-line display, and I'll just select all 337 listings. Let's do it. I'm going to come down here to refine with stat. This is where you're going to find that search selected for, and let me scroll that up a little bit for you guys. It is the final option under the refine button bar. When I click it, you'll select the to public records option. And in this case, you'll see 241 results. So it does look like a few of those listings did not yet have a tax record attached. So there we are.
New construction is a big pet peeve because it rarely has a tax record attached to it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist yet.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. And you're right. But remember, even if we don't have the tax record yet because it's a new construction, the system is always working. So let's transition and show them our last treat. Under the more drop down, you're going to see county information. So what happens, good segue too, by the way, what happens when you're doing this, you're searching for public records, you switch over and you notice that there's some stuff missing. And you want to keep an eye on when it's going to get updated. So you're going to go into the county information and choose the state. This, and it's really small. Let me zoom this in for you guys. This is where you're going to find when the last batch was received, what dates it included. It does not mean that every single record through that date was updated. It just means, in this case, for example, at the top, Allegheny County, that we received updates with an early date of the February 3rd, 1982. And the recordings go through with the updates, go through January 4th, 2019. We last updated the records on the 23rd of last month. And then it even gives you the last tax update field as well that's in there. So this is really helpful for you to monitor and gauge what it is exactly you could or might be seeing when it's updated in Bright. So remember, the more, and then you're going to go into the county information. All right. We have a few other questions. What do you say we field some of these too, Coleen?
Okay.
John Ospchak asked about tax records. He says we have listing data in place of sold data from local tax records. Now we have listing data in place of sold data from, not quite sure what the question is. Tax information, if you're specifically from the south part of the footprint, I can speak to that myself. In that previous MLS, there was a large layover in singular reporting methods where you got both listing and tax in one view. Bright is more separate, so you do see tax information in the tax records, and you'll see listing information in the listing record reports. So there is, perhaps that's maybe what you're asking. Joyce Smith is asking about legal subdivision searching and what's the best way to search legal subdivision. Coleen, you actually mentioned that was really helpful for you. Do you have any tricks that you can share?
I use the asterisk, the wild card. I go to the listing, to a residential sale search, and I've used both the little box for searching and selected all the names because I never know how it's centered. You can also do the legal subdivision with a wild card. As long as the tax record is connecting, however it's written in the tax record is pretty much how you're going to find it. But if you just put the name without the wild card, I'm not having a lot of luck.
Okay. You
definitely need the wild card. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem to work well with the legal subdivision.
Okay. So
there's no drop down there.
In case they didn't hear, in case they're not hearing you, I want to make sure I catch them up from the beginning. The asterisk, just to confirm, is likely the best option to use when doing legal subdivision, is what I'm hearing, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I have used just the legal subdivision name and come up with nothing. But if I have an asterisk in there, either beginning and end or just at the end, it does find it. So for some reason, that wild card is critical when you do a legal subdivision search, even if you have the name exactly right.
Got it. So let me do a test for them so we can show them what this looks like. I'm going to pull up the public records for what I know to be in an advertised subdivision, Spring Ridge. If I go into a public record and I try to find the legal subdivision, I have to do the find feature all the time. Subdivision. So the subdivision neighborhood is Spring Ridge. So what I'm going to do is search.
This might have been recently fixed too, Lori, because it seems to be working if you know the exact name without the wild card right now.
Oh, good.
So it seems to be working. Maybe it's a glitch that they have fixed, which is something I'm always finding, which I'm glad to see. I'd rather see it fixed than not fixed. So
I agree with you.
It works for me.
I agree with you. So Spring Ridge, as we're all now testing out, I see Denise is also asking some questions. So when you are running a legal subdivision search, it does look like whatever issues you might have previously had with not using the asterisk is eliminated, because you can see here that when I enter just the word Spring Ridge, I do get 11 matches, and that's legal subdivision. So if I
Spring Ridge with an asterisk and see if you get more or less. Just out of curiosity.
That's exactly what I'm getting ready to do. And when I do it with an asterisk, I still get the same 11.
Yeah, okay. I did too on a search I just did here.
Yep.
And it's a glitch I think that's been fixed, actually. So
That's
legal
good.
subdivision should work if they have it spelled correctly from the tax record when they type it in.
That's always the key.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Good stuff. What other questions do we have? Let's take a look here. Oh, Coleen, someone's asking about one of your favorite features, the map. Which, by the way, guys, really quick, let me just kind of switch gears for a moment, a little ahead of time. One of the things that you'll be able to expect coming up with, likely in April, our next appraiser-focused webinar or YouTube Live, because March is already scheduled out. Coleen and I have been working together. We're going to keep working together. We're going to bring you how appraisers can best use the CMA Wizard in Bright, what benefit you'll find from it. And we'll talk about some really good custom reports, statistics that we're working on for you guys. And Coleen really loves the map searching and all of those layers, and somebody just asked that question. So I wanted to just tell you guys that we are working on that for the next live, but I am going to go ahead and show you a few things where, Coleen, you want to drive some of your favorite map tools?
Well, if they know the little button on the map that looks like a Cookie Monster, it's the second one from the right, next to the clear brush button. It's to the right of that. It looks like a little Cookie Monster. It shows numerous features that you can now get on the map by clicking what you need. Even flood information, school district lines, everything is there, and I don't think they realize that they have so many choices here. You can get the site area. You can even find out how many bedrooms and baths are in every house in the community that you're working in. It's got several layers that are enabling you to search all kinds of information, especially statistical information if you needed it.
That's fantastic. So let's show them a few of them. I can come over here to the layers button, and now it will also depend on your jurisdiction. I know Pennsylvania, for example, you will not find, you're hard pressed to find a public record without a bedroom on it. Maryland, not consistent. So it just depends on where you are, what data your jurisdiction is submitting to Bright. It's not a plug-in to the county and we pull info. We actually have to get this stuff sent and delivered to us.
They also need to zoom in enough to get that information. In many cases, you can't be zoomed too far out.
Yep.
For some of that stuff, for some of that information that's very specific.
Yeah.
But the school district line is something that I think a lot of appraisers would find use of. Because school district lines can actually take you into a different marketplace.
Let's take a look at the schools. So high schools, we'll check off a high school layer, for example, and I'll zoom out a little bit. One of the things Coleen is talking about is right here. You'll notice that this is Volunteer Creek area, and we've got this border around it. We have over here another border here, and behind it there is a school label, and you'll be able to see this is the Frederick High School District. So when you start moving into my area in Frederick in the city, you can see here how very close the other houses in different school districts might be in that same neighborhood or area. And so, Coleen, to speak to what you're saying, when you're running an appraiser just based on property and radius calculations, you may be including homes that are in a completely different school zone that may not rank as high.
That's correct. And some buyers are searching specifically for a certain school district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can answer questions as to why a house is selling for more or less in a different school district.
Now, the way to use this is a little tricky, folks, so I am going to sort of show you two different methods. There is a draw polygon feature, which requires a click for every start and stop point. And as you go through and click and trace these boundaries, because turning on the visible boundary layers does not automatically get rid of listings that fall outside of that area. And I'm going to do a really bad draw here just to get it finished, because this does take time and practice. So I'm going to pretend that that's where the line stops for this school district, okay? So you can still edit and drag these lines. My recommendation is as soon as you get them drawn, this looks good right here, but if I zoom all the way down and I move this, you're going to see it's not as good as it looked. So right here, this is over the line, and it's got some other houses in there, and I don't want that when I'm running that search. So you're going to go ahead and zoom down and keep editing your boundary. The good news is once you get these drawn, use your saved searches. Save this as a school search. So for example, I'll go to the criteria. You'll see that I have nothing entered here that's specific to any subject property or search. If I go to the results page or even the map, it doesn't matter where, and I go to save, I can save this as a template for Frederick High School map search. So now, anytime I need to do a new appraisal in that school district, I just make a copy of that saved search, which are always found under the search box in your saved searches over here. And I don't have to redraw that line every single time. So that's always really helpful. We're down to minutes almost here, folks. Let's get a few more questions. What do you think? we have, I'm trying to make sure I'm going in somewhat order. So the current price listed on the markets analysis stats report is the same as the closed price. Is it? Oh, that's the question. So is the current price listed on the market stats the same as the closed price? If not, and then they're asking add closed price back to that report. So current price, if it's an active listing, for example, the current price is what the price is right this very moment. There could be a completely different prior price, and even then a completely different original list price. If it is a closed listing and you are looking at a current sale price, then yes, that current sale price would match what that closed price would be. And we're going to do these stats next, right, Coleen? That's one of those things, the stats, the custom reports that we're going to be bringing back to you guys after Coleen and I finish working on that next class content.
I was glad to see it come back. It's very useful. It gives you your concessions for your closed market, your percentage, your ratios. It's the old stats button that Matrix had. You guys call it the property analysis report, and it's in your print menu.
Yeah,
Good,
and
good report.
You'll see it here too when we run a search, just to give you guys a little preview on what you'll be getting next time. If I select the listings that I want to use, I can click on the stats. I can do tabular. Now the tabular is going to give me a statistical summary as well as the ability to do a market analysis. So there's that.
What's missing from tabular are some of the things that appraisers were using from the stats, which is the property analysis report that you guys have, and that is concessions, neighborhood price ranges, as well as age ranges. Those are not in your little stats report as much. The prices are, but the age range and the concessions are not. But they are in the property analysis report, which is set up to look exactly like the old Matrix stats report. So you do have a stats button, but it's not the old stats from Matrix. It's
right.
Terminology here, that's all.
That's really what is it? It's who moved my cheese and what is it called and what does it smell like now, right?
That's right.
And that is one of those things that's going to take far too long than the 3 minutes we have right now. But how about we take that 3 minutes to really just thank you, Coleen. Really appreciate you being with us.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad that I could be here on behalf of MAA. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that, Bright is put together an appraiser work group that we're all working on right now. There are several appraisers, Beth Riedel, Greg Glover, Rich May, Larry Seidel, Ron Lobos. If I'm forgetting anybody, it's not intentional, but it is a group of appraisers that are trying to improve the flow and the use of Bright. And Bright is working with us. The Bright put this whole work group together, so no complaints here. No complaints here. It's a work in progress. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you. And we will continue to work for you and for all other appraisers. I know you guys have been chatting away, really busy. Thank you, Valerie and Tiffany, for fielding all of those questions to us and answering what you could also in the chat. I want to take a moment to transition back over here and show you guys where to submit your feedback. The top right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a support drop-down. In the submit a case is where you'll be able to ask any of your personal questions that you might have specific to you or a scenario that you're stuck on or have questions or need help with. But it's also a way for you to submit your feedback. Do you want to also be put in for one of the upcoming groups or focus groups? So please do make sure you submit your feedback, your questions. Let us know how we did. We really want your feedback. There is a survey link in the description. So take a moment to head over there into the description box. Let us know what you think. This is the first of its kind. So we know that we're going to maybe try new technology so Coleen sounds clearer. And we can actually have you guys hear her better. So just thank you also for bearing with us, and I really just hope that you all have a fantastic